The other day I did a 2-minute tips and tricks video on silver soldering. In today's video I want to go over some tips, some more tricks, some of the solders we use, some of the different types of fluxes, and hopefully give you guys a little bit more information on how to do silver soldering. Before we start, we're going to need a few things. First up, I'm using the little torch, which uses gas and oxygen. It gives me great control, a clean, focused flame, perfect for jewelry work. Next, this is a must-have, a titanium soldering pick. You can use tweezers, but 9 times out of 10, the solder sticks to them. Plus, those tweezers can get a little hot when soldering. The third hand is a great tool to hold your work steady. This will allow you to free up both hands. You're going to need something you can solder on. A ceramic board or a soldering brick, either works. The thing is, you don't want to burn a hole in your bench. Now let's talk about flux. Without flux, you're not going to get that solder to flow. Flux prevents oxidization when the metal is heated up. Oxidization blocks solder flow. No flow, no join. This is the paste I use. But a lot of jewelers use a borax cone or liquid flux like Orflux. Use what you feel comfortable with. Next, solder choice. You've got hard, medium and soft solder. Each has a different melting point. If you're building a piece with multiple joins, you start with hard solder, move down to medium, then finish with soft. That way you don't remelt your previous joins. For most single joins, I like medium solder. It gives a good balance of strength and working time. You're going to need to choose the right solder for the job you're working on. When you've got solder sheets, it's easy to cut up into little squares. Alright, let's solder. First, your metal must be clean, no oil, no dirt, no oxidization. If it's not clean, the solder will not flow properly. Simple as that. Second, your joint must fit tightly. Solder is not glue, it doesn't fill big gaps. The better the fit, the stronger, the cleaner the joint will be. Cut through the joint so both ends match perfectly. The better the fit, the cleaner the solder seam. Now close up the joint so it's a tight fit. Apply flux directly to the joint. Now add a little heat, gently warming up the piece first. This dries the flux and prepares the metal. Pick a piece of solder that's just enough to fill the joint. Too much and it floods everywhere. Too little and you get a weak joint. Here's the big mistake beginners make. They try to heat the solder. Don't heat the solder, heat the metal. Heat both sides evenly. When the metal reaches soldering temperature, the solder will draw into the seam through capillary action. The moment it flows, remove the heat. Now you can quench in water or use your pickle. Now that was pretty easy. Let's try something a little more difficult, like soldering a small jump ring to a heavy pendant. We're going to use the dividers to find the center. Now we're ready to go. Here's one way I do it, which can be a lifesaver. I use my third hand to hold the jump ring, then a second set to hold the pendant. Then I'll line up the jump ring to the middle of the pendant. Now you have both hands free, and the tweezers also help pull away the heat from the jump ring, which helps protect it. And now we're ready to solder. Apply the flux and a small piece of solder. Then apply heat to the pendant and not the jump ring. Let the heat travel through the larger piece. Control the solder with your pick if needed. Once the pendant reaches temperature, the solder will flow, joining the two parts. Once you've finished soldering, the piece needs to go into the pickle or acid to remove residual flux and oxidization. I use sulfuric acid for silver. It works well, and unlike pickle solutions, you don't need to heat it. To get good at soldering, it's all about practice. The more you practice, the better you'll get. You'll start to get a feel for the right temperature and how the solder reacts to the heat. It's all about practice, so let's get soldering and do it one more time. Got the gas on, we'll light it. It's about getting the correct flame. I think that's going to be hot enough. Let's put a little bit more oxygen in. Going to want to put some flux. Heat the flux. Now we want a little bit of solder. put that on. When you heat this up, the flux is going to bubble. It's going to move the solder all over the place. So you can actually just hold it down and the flux is going to get all glassy. What's going to happen next is the solder is going to ball up, probably going to move around a lot, but when it's balled up, what we're going to do is we're going to move the heat side to side and it's going to get hot enough that it'll solder. Move the heat away and job done. Now we can put that in the water, cool it off, and then we can throw it in the pickle or the acid, whichever you've got. That'll clean up all the residual flux that's on there and also clean up some of the oxidization. Use bicarb soda to neutralize the acid. Then rinse it under cold water. Here's some extra tips. Cut the solder to fit the joint. I always cut a few extra and pick the pieces I think will do the job. Here's my next tip. The bigger the piece, the bigger the flame. If you're going to be soldering something as big as this, you're definitely going to need to switch out this soldering tip. What I'll do is use a bigger tip like this. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and remember, like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. And check out this video right up here.